Kirk Ferentz is suspended for the Illinois State game. John Budmeyer, their receivers coach, also suspended for the Illinois State game. This is regarding the recruitment of Cade McNamara, the quarterback who transferred from Michigan before last season. And apparently, there was illegal contact. We will let Kirk Ferentz explain what happened.
And based on those discussions, the communication has been determined to be a potential level 2 NCAA violation. So therefore, I've made the decision in conjunction with the athletic director to recommend a self-imposed 1-game suspension and also including a loss of 1 week off-campus recruiting. I will not be coaching in the season opening game next week against Illinois State, nor will John Budmeyer, receiver coach John Budmeyer. So we'll both serve that suspension. I shared this information with our staff and players this morning and the families of our players this afternoon. I think it's important that I be here today to visit with you. That was the plan. And also wanted the fans to hear this from me as well.
Andrew in the chat says, if you want to cheat, you got to do it properly and take the kid out for a burger. At breakfast, Andrew. A burger at breakfast. Remember, that's the key. That was the key piece of evidence in the Michigan case. But that's Kirk Ferentz talking about what happened and deemed an illegal contact, impermissible contact, not illegal. Let's remember there's no state statute against this, but it is an impermissible contact. Stephen Wilson says Iowa has a receivers coach. What does he do? I love that. That joke never gets old. Never gets old. I've seen it multiple times in the last few days. Still funny every time. So there's actually a little more intrigue to this Iowa thing because this isn't a case where Iowa turned itself in. Now, they did self-impose this suspension. This is basically them saying, we're going to impose this 1-game suspension, and we hope that satisfies the NCAA, which, given the way they've handled it, I think it probably will. Kirk Ferentz is saying, I did it, I messed up, I'm sorry, which, by the way, kids out there, I tell my own kids this all the time. If you're willing to say, I did it, I messed up, I'm sorry, that handles a lot of situations in life. Now, you may still get punished, but the punishment is usually going to be a little bit softer if you just say, I did it, I messed up, I'm sorry, as opposed to, I don't recall that. Well, here's a receipt for the cheeseburger. I also don't recall that. My recollection remains cloudy. That makes things more complicated. I messed up and I'm sorry does not make things complicated. And I would imagine that the NCAA does not do more to Kirk Ferentz because he just said, I did it, I messed up, and I'm sorry. Now, again, there is more intrigue, though. So Beth Getz, the Iowa athletic director, was asked, how did everybody find out about this?
Hi, Scott Docterman with The Athletic. This is actually for both Kirk and for Beth. My question is, how was the NCAA apprised of this matter? Was this something that you turned in? Was it something that they discovered? Or was there another school involved that actually turned you in?
Yeah, and I apologize, there's little we can say, but in this case, we were notified of the violation by the NCAA.
I got to say this. I appreciate Kirk Ferentz and Beth Getz so much for this because even though Beth Getz started that answer with, there's only so much I can say, because that's what the way the NCAA enforcement process works. It essentially puts a gag order on everybody and says, you can't say anything about anything. And what that is a way to keep the schools, the coaches, the athletic directors from having to say anything about it. It allows them to just say, well, the NCAA says we can't say anything, so we're not. But Beth Getz actually gives us some real information here, and I appreciate that. They got turned in by somebody else. We actually don't know who. It doesn't necessarily mean they were turned in by Michigan. They could have been turned in by somebody else who wanted Cade McNamara to come to their team. But we'll probably find that out later. That probably will come out. But that is another layer of intrigue. So who turned him in? David says, is there a Caden Proctor investigation too? I would assume, maybe. But who are we investigating? Are we investigating Iowa for tampering with Caden Proctor while he was at Alabama, or Alabama for tampering with Caden Proctor while he was at Iowa? That's one of those, like, can we have offsetting penalties in NCAA enforcement? That would be awesome. Like, the NCAA Committee on Infractions has this conference call, and like, we're declaring offsetting penalties on this. Both schools did it to the other. So we're just going to say no harm, no foul. I think that'd be great. So I had a question in the chat, how to find the Cheating for Dummies. Mars asked, how do we find the Cheating for Dummies column? Well, I can't throw the link up right now. Producer River may be able to throw the link into the chat. It is still, because a lot of the stuff I wrote for Sports Illustrated has disappeared from the website. This one has not. If you Google, just put my name in quotes, put Andy Staples in quotes, put the phrase Cheating for Dummies in quotes, it will be the first thing that comes up. The second thing that comes up will be an article from Bear Insider, which is a Cal site, and the headline is SI's Andy Staples is a moron. So I think the Bear Insider was offended that I was telling coaches how to cheat because they were bad at it and they needed help. And I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. All right. A little more from Kirk Ferentz. Another thing I appreciate about Kirk Ferentz, and I said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I did it. I messed up. I'm sorry. Takes you a long way in life. Chad Leistikow, columnist in Iowa, graded his job. Asked a question that kind of gives Ferentz some wiggle room or a chance to kind of blast away. And Ferentz, once again, just goes back to, I did it. I messed up. I'm sorry.
Chad Leistikow, Des Moines Register for Kirk Ferentz. I guess just piecing together just this, I don't know if you want to call it like, bad luck or what between the gambling, the Caden Proctor situation and this. I mean, I guess how would you kind of summarize just sort of like these things happening to you guys where I think the general consensus is out there in the world, like there's a lot of the same stuff going on, yet Iowa's kind of in the headlines here.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think there's some unique circumstances surrounding this particular case, but the bottom line is it was impermissible contact. That's what the investigation's about, and the facts are the facts. And so there's a line, and I crossed that line. I made a bad error in judgment, and I'm just going to take ownership, and I'm not lumping it with anything else. This is something, and to me, this whole issue really is about a judgment or a decision that I made that's unfortunate, and we just want to address it, and then we want to move forward.
I did it. I messed up. I'm sorry. I did it. I messed up. I'm sorry. Can take you so far. I've had that. Like, we've all, if you're a parent, you've had that conversation with your kids, like where they did something they weren't supposed to do, and they just keep making excuses about it. And you're like, stop. Just say you did it and you're sorry, and we can end this whole thing. And I've said to my kids on multiple occasions, like, if you keep making excuses, I'm going to make this worse for you. Because that's what, when it's their boss coming to them, I just want them to say, I did it, I messed up, I'm sorry. Because again, that's going to help them. Kirk Ferentz, teaching life lessons. Punting is winning. I did it. I messed up. I'm sorry. One more thing, though, from this Kirk Ferentz press conference. He basically announced the starting quarterback. Remember, that's been a question mark. There was a public scrimmage last week, and we were wondering, like, is Cade McNamara going to be the guy? Because Brendan Sullivan, who would have been the starting quarterback at Northwestern, transferred in to Iowa in the spring portal window. I was like, okay. Are we sure? Well, now we know. Here's Kirk Ferentz.
I think I've commented about, Cade's lack of playing time behind a full offense, playing with 11 guys on the field. And then you think about Brendan coming in here, starting new in June, so a lot to learn. And I guess so there's been some back and forth, some ups and downs, those types of things. But both guys this week have just looked more comfortable, and they've done a lot of good things. And today's Thursday. Cade's done a really nice job. I think he's had a really good week, and I think Brendan's done the same thing. So, coincidentally, ironically, however you want to look at it, I was looking at peeked at some tape from a year ago, summer, don't ask me why, last week, and it was right after Cade injured his quad in the preseason workout out there. And it was a pretty limited room at that point. So, I mean, the big takeaway is we're much healthier at that position in terms of game experience, depth, those types of things. And Marco's doing a good job, too. So just like what I see with the quarterback room, how it's shaping up right now. And, if we were playing tomorrow, Cade would be 1, Brendan would be 2, Marco would be 3.
There it is. There you have it. AJ in the chat. Sullivan's going to take that job in week 3. Producer River points out, Iowa's a 23.5-point favorite over Illinois State, which let's get some Iowa jokes off here. Like, that requires them to score 23.5 points. Are we sure they can do that? Maybe this time. Maybe. New offensive coordinator Tim Lester. There's a little nature-nurture question with Kirk not being at the game, too. So, like, if they hang 60 on Illinois State, I'm not sure what we're going to extrapolate from that. Although, as Rocky Top Tom points out, the defense might score 23.5 points. The total on that game is 42.5. What did we learn here last year? What did we learn here last year? Take the Iowa under. Willie Thomas. Iowa could definitely score a half a point. They might be the only school that could figure out how to do that. Oh, my. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples On 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.